So 2033, I would say the top could be somewhere in the 10 to really $100 million range for Bitcoin. I see, the next decade as being this giant adoption curve of Bitcoin. Medium to large scale countries will be adopting Bitcoin in the next 10 years as legal tender.
People are excited. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. So
Everybody, welcome back to the 99B, where we try to make sense of this crazy crypto world. And today we have with us Brandon Green. Brandon is the chief of staff of the 2024 Bitcoin conference at Nashville. He's a Tennessee native himself. And he has pretty much been in the crypto industry since his first job out of college. And out of anybody else I know, he might have the most insane, cool, crazy or Bitcoin predictions on the planet. So, Brandon, welcome to the show.
thank you for having me. That's a good intro. Yeah, dude. I try and be the most bullish person that anyone gets as a guest. It's not easy, but I can certainly go out there in terms of my predictions.
Yeah, we're gonna have to jump into that because I've seen people blow up virally where people are like, "Oh my God, this guy has even more insane predictions than Kathy Wood," but I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, someone's got to push Kathy for the biggest bull. Might as well be me.
I love it. But yeah, so this year's Bitcoin conference is shifting from Miami to Nashville. And I think the reasons I've read up for you why is Miami's a place to be seen. Nashville's a place to have fun pretty much. And
Mhm.
I've been in Miami and I can say that for sure. But the crazier news is that you guys are having Donald Trump coming to the conference. And I thought we can't really lead any other way with starting with Trump. It kind of reminds me, it was actually a consensus this year, and RFK Jr. was speaking the night that Trump was convicted for his felonies. So, what was your immediate reaction to the Trump? Where were you? What did you think?
To when we confirmed him, or like when he
So,
got
my
convicted.
bad. Where were you actually? Let's bring it to like the most immediate news. Where were you when Trump got, shot in his ear, and what were you thinking? Oh my God, is this guy gonna even be at our conference anymore?
Oh my God, dude. Yes, I was on the couch, sitting with my fiance. Uh, we saw that something had happened, and I pulled up. I was on Twitter, of course, and I saw a video of him just getting shot and going down. And that was it. Like that was all that was in the video. It was in the immediate aftermath, and my heart sunk through my stomach. I started
Can only
panicking. I
imagine.
was like, what just happened? And then, the next video I saw was him getting back up, and I was like, oh, thank God. Uh, yeah, no, uh, it almost feels wrong to talk about the fact that we somehow even have any sort of consideration around that, but we do. He was supposed to speak at our event less than 14 days after that incident.
Yeah.
And so, our internal comms were just blowing up. Everyone was, freaking out, to put it mildly. And we truly went into that evening not knowing what was gonna, we didn't know whether he was still going to speak. We didn't know how badly injured he was. We didn't really know anything. And so we were just kind of sitting on our hands. We certainly weren't going to reach out to them that night and be like, "Hey, what does this mean for the Bitcoin?" I think they got more
So
important things to worry about. So, uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
but
God.
we kind of came up with a few different game plans based on whatever we were to hear in the following days. And fortunately, the next morning we got word from his team that he was very excited to speak in Nashville, and we were full steam ahead. So pretty insane. I mean, pretty incredible of uh just the sense of bravery and the willingness to kind of just go straight back out there. And
Yeah.
um I mean, what a historic moment for the world, really.
Yeah, that's a great point. And to be honest, do you think I hate to jump so politically into this, but only because this news just broke or this happened. Do you think this changes Trump in any kind of way? I've heard people say, "Oh my God, this is enlightened kind of stage." And to even make matters, not as comedic, it is crazy to think an inch away we could be seeing an American flag on a casket, and there would be I mean that would probably dampen Bitcoin conference completely, totally. I don't even know how. Yeah, it's like it would be. What could you do?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely would have put a damper
Yeah.
the event. Yeah, my prediction on what this means kind of politically, it was interesting. Like you've already seen Trump take a much more moderate approach to this year's campaign talking points, let's say, the way he
Hmm.
presents himself, like he's much more mild. And so, I think he was already seeing the opportunity to kind of like go to the middle and just pull from as many constituencies as possible. But certainly now that he kind of gets to be seen as the uniter, um, it seems like he has an insurmountable amount of tailwind to his campaign at this point. And I very much expect that we'll see a pretty drastic outcome in November because of it. So I think he was probably going to win regardless, but certainly now it seems like it's all but a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I would say the same. And that definitely brings us to his VP pick now, who a lot of people are saying, no, this really means he's confident. We don't need to
Mm.
do no diversity pick. He's like, let me just get a guy who thinks like I think. I read JD Vance's book a long time ago, Hillbilly Elegy. It's amazing. What do you think of JD Vance and Trump for crypto?
Yeah, well, so I mean, the obvious talking point is like JD Vance owns Bitcoin. He's always kind of been on the record as pretty pro crypto. He's a Peter Thiel acolyte.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Star Wars show.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think he would be on that show, but
It's
but
like
yeah.
no.
Uh,
Uh,
so the like we've been talking to him. We've actually been talking to him for weeks, and everything like went on pause, let's say, over the past week, where
uh,
we were planning to have him as part of the event. We'll see if he still comes. Once you become VP, your travel schedule becomes whatever your presidential candidate tells you it is. So,
mhm.
we'll wait and see whether they want JD to come to the Bitcoin conference, but he was already interested in coming to the Bitcoin conference before he was the VP pick. So we might see him there. And I do think it's great for crypto. I think it's great for Bitcoin that he's the VP. And, if he is the, let's say, quote unquote, heir apparent to the Trump sort of style, then that is a very pro Bitcoin heir apparent, and I think it's bullish tailwinds for our industry for sure.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's really cool because when we say diversity, we mostly forced. It's like the same way the Star Wars. It's like, okay, get the best person for the job. If they're black, white, Asian, whatever. So
Mhm.
this guy thinks very much like him. I know people give him crap for hating on him, but I think a lot of us were shocked in 2016 when Trump was won the election. So
For
yeah,
sure. Dude, I think it's a very different constituent that's voting for Trump in this election. Like, don't get me wrong.
mm,
I'm sure like his base is there and will always be there, but he's pulling from places that he did not pull from in 2020 or 2016. So
yeah.
I expect a lot there. And what I'll also say though is, JD Vance was my odds on favorite to be
Mm,
VP candidate just because if you look at what he did with Pence, the number one base that he wanted to shore up was the white evangelical vote, right? It
mhm,
was the I can't say where I heard this except to say that it's hard to rely on white evangelicals to show up at the polls
mm.
unless you signal really strongly with them. And so, the hillbilly elegy sort of side of him very much makes me think that that's where Trump was pulling from. That's what Trump wanted to optimize for with his VP pick. And it's why I thought JD Vance was kind of the shoe in from the start. It was another
Mm.
Pence. It was, someone who could carry that same group.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of people were thinking Vivek, another guy kind of like him, but I think JD's a very solid pick. I was surprised to see it, unlike you, but I was like, wow, I can't believe JD came in. The last political question I have, do you think you have so many political guests at the Bitcoin conference this year? Vivek, RFK Jr., political journalists like Whitney Webb. Who when do you think Democrats begin to start, embracing crypto and embracing Bitcoin? It seems like something that should have already happened if we're thinking, 30
Yeah.
years Democrats, but Democrats today are very anti crypto, even though Biden accepts them. So what do you think?
Without showing all of our cards, I would say that that's a conversation that we're trying to optimize around for the event.
Mm,
We don't want to see Bitcoin become a partisan issue.
yeah.
And, we're trying to figure out ways that our event can help with that. We're talking to some folks on that side of the aisle who might make an appearance. We don't have it locked in yet, although we've got it kind of soft confirmed. Probably the people who you would expect from the Democratic Party that are pro Bitcoin. And we're also kind of crafting conversations with some of the candidates who are running on a pro Bitcoin versus an anti Bitcoin,
Platform.
incumbent.
Yeah, oh,
Like
incumbent.
the
Okay,
incumbent
sure.
is
Yeah.
anti Bitcoin. They're
Hmm.
pro Bitcoin as a way to push
Oh, that's
them.
fascinating.
And yeah, it's very fascinating, and it's very fascinating because some of the people who let's just take Elizabeth Warren. All right, that's an easy one. Elizabeth Warren,
Hmm.
no stranger to being anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin. The reason she has so much leverage and influence in the Democratic Party is because she is a net fundraiser. All right. She pulls in money to fund her campaign. That money goes to the DNC coffers and then is used on other races. Right. So you like she is a net positive to their coffers. This year, she may be a net negative. They may have to spend more on her race than money that she brings in. And that changes the power
Wow.
dynamic in the party. Even if she doesn't lose, just the fact that she's now a net pull on their resources makes her a much less popular person in the Democratic Party when it comes time to deciding what issues they're willing to champion and which ones they're willing to soften on. So
Yeah.
very, very cool things that are in the works there where, we might see, even if you don't see the drastic changes in the composition of the Democratic Party, you might see a very different power structure of the Democratic Party that's setting kind of the priorities because of how much damage can be done to the party around being so anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin.
Yes. Wow. That's incredible points. And I think you can't really even have the Biden campaign accepting crypto donations and not have this divide already there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's inherent. Um, but let's get into the fun topics now, since
Let's do it.
everybody's probably everybody, maybe some of the people are happy, the wine drinkers are happy we got into all that. But let's do some of the fun topics, and let's jump into Bitcoin and price action. And I think one thing you're very popular for is your Bitcoin price predictions. But instead of that, I'm thinking, what amount of Bitcoin do you think somebody needs to hold to maybe even just become a millionaire, or maybe just become someone who's a lot wealthier than they were before? How much Bitcoin do you think that is?
On what time horizon?
Let's go to 20. So for some reason, everybody likes the number 2030. I don't know why. It just seems like a singularity event is happening then, but let's go to 2030.
Yeah, so the moon math that I tend to do in order to make my bold predictions are around a 4-year cycle where you
Mhm.
100x from the bottom. Now, we haven't seen that happen in this past cycle, the 2021 kind of bull market, but we
Mhm.
saw it in the 2017 bull market and we saw it in the 2013 bull market. And so you could, on the one hand, say, well, it's not a trend because it didn't happen last cycle, or you could look at last cycle and be like, yeah, that was kind of fucked up. Like you had FTX, you had all this
Mhm.
credited lending, you had this massive overhang, you had China banning Bitcoin, you had Elon coming out pro and then against it in the middle of the bull market. Like there was a lot of things that happened that, first of all, can never happen again. Like FTX gone, Elon
Yeah.
already out on Bitcoin, China already banned Bitcoin. Like it's not like you can have that kind of shit pop up this cycle. So that's on the one kind of hand, and then So if you were going to say, all right, maybe the pattern continues this cycle and we get back to the 100x from the bottom, well, the bottom in November was 15,000, let's say. So that's November of 2022. So a 100x from that would be 1.5 million at the top, like the blow off top of this cycle. Let's just temper it a little bit and let's just say 1 million, right? As the rough blow off top. That would happen in 2025. And then we would have another blow off top potentially in 2029. So we'll call that 2030. And so let's say you have a 80% drawdown from 1 mil. That's roughly 200K as the bottom. So then 100x from that would be around 20 mil market cap. So, or a price, sorry. So let's say 20 mil is the Bitcoin price in 2029, 2030. That means that if you own a Bitcoin, you're certainly well off. But even if you owned 0.05 Bitcoin, you might have like roughly $1 million. That would be nuts. But and this is my kind of caveat with all of that is I think that we're in for shaky times with the US dollar. I think we're far from, I don't think inflation's just gone away, and that's mostly spurred now from a unsustainable debt crisis that we have. And so, like I'm not going to talk the talking points better than other people, but roughly a third of our budget now is just paying interest on our debt. And from like a national budget perspective, it's the largest line item now. It's larger than military. So that's something that people in government don't like. They don't like having to pay interest on debt as like their biggest thing that they're paying. And there's two ways to get out of that. Number one would be massive economic growth. And the other one would be massive devaluing of the currency. And, I have a gut feeling that it's going to be the latter that we end up seeing. And so, the purchasing power of $1 million is going to be a lot less than it was even now. So that's kind of my bold prediction on what I'm going to see over the next like 5 years. And I'm glad I'm in Bitcoin is all I can say, because it's going to be pretty chaotic.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about there, but I think one main point that interests me is, so do we see then a great reset of the financial system, which, anybody, World Economic Forum, take with that whatever you want, or do we see Bitcoin engulf so many other assets and do we lose other, I'm sure gold will always be around, but do you see then an economy where we have lost a lot of other things and new AI cryptos everywhere? I mean, what do you see then in that future?
I'll take kind of the optimistic view. So Larry Fink went on CNBC yesterday or 2 days ago and said like Bitcoin is kind of for people who take a cautionary or pessimistic view of the world, and they want to hedge. I actually would disagree. And to your point, like, if you're cautious, if you're not sure that like the future of the world is good, I would not be investing in Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is building a much better future for the world. If you're wanting to hedge everything that's happening in a negative way, like I would look at bullets and gold and some of the things that are going to be bartered in kind of a society like that, where you're not relying on like an internet connection to be available to the entire world. Bitcoin has a much like brighter future, but I guess the tumult, the turmoil that we have to work through is that fiat currency is not long for this world. Like, I don't think any fiat currency has lasted more than 100 years or 150 years, something like that. And we're about, 1971, we're about 50 something years into the US dollar fiat currency. And the US dollar fiat currency will be the last one to go. So every other currency will collapse first. And
dollar milkshake theory.
Dollar milkshake, exactly. And so it's one of those things where it's like, we're on the back half of, let's say, the lifespan of the US dollar. if we're lucky, if it's another 100-year plus kind of currency, which it very well may not be. It's our only export for the United States. Our chief export is the US dollar. Like it's not a sustainable situation, let's just say. But that doesn't mean you have to have total global collapse in order for, Bitcoin to kind of be that transition. It just means that the Bitcoin price has to pump. And if the Bitcoin price pumps, it's because money is flowing into it and people are flowing out of the failing systems. And so it could be, the colloquial gradually then suddenly kind of situation where, one day we just kind of see this massive spike in Bitcoin purchases coinciding with, a massive collapse in the US dollar. And you kind of wake up one day and it like the entire system's flipped on its head. So that's what I think is going to happen, as crazy as that sounds. And of course, you'll see similar appreciation in things like stocks and commodities and all sorts of stuff. But Bitcoin will just have an outsized appreciation.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but like I think it's what's going to happen.
It makes sense from your worldview. My only pushback is, and I always hear this against other Bitcoiners, from people outside, they always say, well, in that case, then not that it's all lining up perfectly for in our own worldviews, but it still sounds like does the U.S. dollar have any real chance of collapsing? People usually say, like, will they, with the military power backing it? So it makes sense from your worldview, but do you think there will some other currency, some CBDC or another digital currency usurp that and will be saved? It almost leads into my next question I want to ask you is where do we get adoption from here? Because people definitely love the safest, easiest route. Bitcoin you see a lot of smart erudite people at the conferences. But not saying that people aren't like that, but how do we get this to people that don't pay attention as much, essentially?
Yeah, so let me answer kind of like the first thing you said, and then I'll answer that question. What I would say is something to watch for. The mechanism by which I think we'll see kind of some of this play out is that our financial system is built for like a 95% confidence interval, and it's the 5% tail risk that we have like no contingency plans for, and that's always where catastrophic failure comes from. And so, my guesstimate is that kind of to go to your second question, adoption is going to continue in an institutional realm far and away faster than it does from a grassroots sense, like over the next cycle, I would say. Like, sure, there's going to be tons more grassroots adoption. Grandma's going to own it in her, ETF kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's the ETF that is the institutional adoption. It's the ETF companies that are holding that Bitcoin. So, they're just building financial products around it. So, what I kind of see happening is you're going to see an amount of leverage built up in the system that is balanced. It's not like you're going to be overwhelmingly long, overwhelmingly short, caught off sides in the sense that like we were in the FTX era. But you could see tens of billions of dollars in short interest against Bitcoin that there is no contingency plan if that blows up. And that's where I see kind of the transition happening, and it'll happen really quickly. We'll wake up one morning and Bitcoin will have pumped, 10%, and that'll cause like one of these shorters to have to go cover. And to cover, they're going to have to sell something in the stock market, sell treasuries in order to buy more Bitcoin, which is going to pump the price even, and it's just going to create a cycle. And the next thing you know, we're just like off to the races. And and in order to cover that collateral, in order to cover that short interest, it will cause some of the most pristine, thought about collateral to get sold into the dirt. And so
Wow.
goes the whole system.
Wow. You said something earlier that we flushed out the FTXs and all the black swans, let's say. Do you think that we are more likely to see a 100K Bitcoin first or a 50K Bitcoin, and why do you think that?
100K. We've seen our
And
little flirtation with the downside pressure, a little sell off. Like we're off to the races again. Like I would expect to be at all-time highs before the conference.
okay, I was gonna say, when do you think we get 100K?
Well, let's see what we have in store at the conference. I
Yeah.
know some bullish things that we're planning there. I don't know what it's going to do to the price, but
Oh
if
man.
I were someone on the sidelines and consuming the content that we've got coming out of the conference, I would be frantically downloading, my preferred Bitcoin purchasing app and smashing buy. So I think
Uh,
we could see it, very shortly after July 27th.
Amazing. That makes us all the more excited for the conference. I definitely want to touch on the conference to round us all out. I have one more, I guess let's call it philosophy question. Eric
Sure.
Weinstein talked to you in the past, and he
Love Eric.
said, yeah, I was surprised to have heard this from you, and I thought it was awesome. You guys talking together, he said, okay, Bitcoin has succeeded. Now what? Have you found the answer to that question?
I mean, kind of. So this has been a big theme that I've talked about, especially recently. It's like I do think we're on the precipice of having made it, let's say, as an industry and as like Bitcoiners. And
Mm,
to kind of repeat the statement, it's like, okay, well, now that we've fixed the world with the current, we fixed the currency. It's time to fix the world. What are we going to do? Like, what are we going to build? How are we going to take our newfound wealth and influence and power and make the world a better place? And I think that's like my hallmark of success of our industry. It's not that we all get stupid rich and buy yachts and never have a care about the world again. It's like, no,
yeah.
our job is to take the fact that we understood what was happening better than anyone else and apply those lessons that got us to buy Bitcoin uh, to go fix the world around us. And so, like, I want to see, the food system fixed. Nice little thumbs up. I want to see
I noticed that. I was like, oh my
education
God.
fixed. I want to see government and power structures fixed. Like, there's so many things out there that are broken, whose core reason they're broken can be traced back to inflation and the monetary system that we have. And it's on us to go reform those institutions. And if not reform them, then we have to go build new ones because society doesn't
Mhm.
function without them. And so that's what I would say is the now what. It's like go engage. Like I'm rambling, but like one of the things I've always said is the hallmark that we know that Bitcoin has succeeded is when the greatest Bitcoiners aren't working on it anymore. They're working on new problems. They're working on other things. Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is. And so the
Yeah.
rest of us now get to go dedicate our lives to something else. And it's something that, will be changed by us because we were changed by Bitcoin. So, I wish I could tell you what that will be for me, what that will be for, the people I know in the space. All I know is that it's the right question for us to be asking ourselves. And I'm very excited for that time in everyone's life when we get to uh, relax on Bitcoin and focus on new things because it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I am too. Things are moving fast in even a beyond a Moore's law kind of a way. It feels that something huge is around the corner. And I hope it's for the betterment of humanity. Let's finish. We got to round out, of course, talking about the conference. I think just us starting off talking about Donald Trump and him being there is the best advertisement you could have for the conference. Are the doors being broken down now over there? Now that you guys invited Trump, I'm sure that was huge. But now, God, Trump almost was killed. What's Nashville going to look like for all of us?
So I can tell you that I'm in the process of confirming like two of the most famous people in the entire world
Oh my goodness.
as speakers, and we'll see if they confirm, but they both have indicated that they would like to speak. So to say that like the doors are being beaten down right now, and they're being beaten down by people that you wouldn't expect need to beat down a door to get into it, so I think this event's going to be insane. Like, I think this is Woodstock level moment for people.
Wow.
And I think that the world is going to change. The world will be a different place after this event than it was before. And like, I don't know how else to tell people that either you were there or you weren't. You know, like either you were there for history to be
Oh my
made or you
God.
weren't there, you know? And so, uh, we in 2021, we had Bukele, and he announced legal tender for El
hmm
Salvador.
Yeah,
And
incredible.
people in the audience were sobbing. Like it was such a special moment. It was so powerful. I will remember that for the rest of my life. And I
Yeah.
know many people who were there feel the exact same way. And so all I can tell you is I ran programming for that event. I knew everything that happened on that event. I did it all, right? I run this event entirely. This event will blow 2021 out of the water in terms of its impact on Bitcoin and its impact on the world. You have to be there. You have to be there. So, if you don't already have a ticket, make sure you get it. If you don't have it at a hotel, like good luck. You can go, there are still places to get hotels, but few and far between. We're going to have like over 20,000 people there at least, and it's going to be nuts. You have to be there.
Yeah, this episode's going out as soon as possible after we finish. So hopefully we can get as many people going to Bitcoin Nashville. The state is going to be, overrun with everyone, honestly, of all backgrounds. Out of all the speakers, who are you interested in seeing? Me personally, I really wanted to go see Whitney Webb. I mean, you're going to be very busy, I'm sure, but anybody that is maybe under the radar because you guys have so many amazing speakers this year. Anybody should check out that they might not be familiar with?
Yeah, well, certainly some of the people that we're getting across the finish line right now will be very exciting to meet. I would say if you wanted an under the radar one that I find really interesting, I've said them a couple times. There's a new company called Alpin Labs, and I find what they're doing to be very interesting. They're doing ZK rollups on Bitcoin. Some of the most technically sophisticated people I've had a chance to talk to. And I think like that's in the same way that no one knew much about like Strike kind of before they burst onto the scenes. I would say like no one knows about them until they burst onto the scenes, but they're going to burst on the scenes soon. So that's an interesting one. I mean, we have so many great companies at the event. That's like you got to understand from my perspective, right? Like we're doing the most culturally relevant event for Bitcoiners, but also the most important event for the industry. And so, being able to gather all the companies there, being able to get all the CEOs talking to each other. There's tons of M&A deals. There's tons of business development deals. There's tons of, investment of new startups, all this kind of stuff that's happening. So that's what I'm really excited to see. I always love hearing about and seeing the conference being used as a place for Bitcoin industry to grow. So that's also probably like my most exciting kind of thing to experience this year.
Amazing. And just closing out, what advice do you have to people that hold Bitcoin? Obviously, I feel like conferences almost have been in places where there are bear markets that are happening for maybe the last 3 years, I want to say. But now we're more of a crab market with the light is at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Buy Bitcoin. I don't know what else to say, man. Don't be bearish right now. Don't be bearish.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big week next week.
Awesome. Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. It'll be my first time in Nashville, and beyond stoked. I can't even. Out of all the events I went to, this one certainly it's roped in so many people I know just to come who weren't even planning on going. So yeah, be sure to pick up
Amazing.
your tickets. We're gonna put links in the description for everybody. And yeah, Brandon, thanks so much, man.
Isaiah, thank you. Great to chat. Excited to see you in
Yeah,
Nashville.
hope I see you in Nashville. Yeah, thanks again. Thanks for watching. Here at 99 Bitcoins, we're the #1 hub for crypto education on the internet. So if you like that video, check out some other ones over here. And no more meme coins, we promise.